So I just thought that the Old and the New Testament were very strange, especially the New Testament. It never seemed like scripture to me. Because if you come from an Islamic background, the Quran, it's very strange, very kind of mystical. It's weird. Even reciting the Quran in English, it puts you in this kind of tranquil lull. It's very strange. So when I turned about 18, 19, my first years in college, I had run into my philosophy professor who I had thought was an atheist, and he turned out to be a Christian. He informed me of the church fathers, and I had never, or at least Polycarp and Ignatius of Antioch, and I never heard of these guys. I didn't know that there were people who knew the apostles and wrote stuff down. I think most Americans don't know about them, but especially coming from being an apostate from Islam for less than a year at that point. But the Gospels are obviously, it's obviously not what Zeitgeist paints it as. That's clear, and even many atheists on YouTube have savagely debunked Zeitgeist because it's embarrassing. Well, I should say the anti-theists, because it's embarrassing for them. At first they're like, oh, this is great, and then, even Coughlin, Matt Dillahunty, the pagan parallels have been just destroyed. But looking at these works, and I was saddened that there's nothing deeper than that. These are the four earliest, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the four earliest bios that we have, and there's no great variance out of the 5,600 plus manuscripts that we have, some dating to within 60 years of the authorship date. The variants are negligible. Out of the 400,000, most are spelling errors or have no the translation into translating them into English. It wouldn't be translated any different. It's the structure of the Greek, or sometimes a word that's abbreviated called nomina sacra. So only about 15 words in total in throughout the New Testament along with 2.5 verses are in dispute, and those are marked out in every modern translation. The NASB has every major variant, and has, the the difference between there's more variation between the New King James and the NASB than there is between majority Byzantine text, or even Textus Receptus and Alexandrian text type, or even the Ethiopic New Testament and the Latin Vulgate New Testament. It's just strange. And I don't know if I should make another video for this, but the people say that they weren't written by eyewitnesses. The Gospels weren't written by eyewitnesses. Well, we know that for John and Luke, they consulted eyewitnesses. They said they'd gathered these reports to try to get a full account. As for Mark, Mark looks like an eyewitness. And Matthew is very strange. One of the strange things about Matthew is it was the most liked gospel, or at least the most quoted and the most relied upon gospel for the very early church fathers. And the strange thing is that they try to date, they put the Gospel of John very late. New Testament scholars always like to put John very late. They try to put it in the 90s, except the earliest manuscript that we have is the Rylands papyrus manuscript, which dates to in between 110 to 135. Most put it around 117. Or no, I think 125. 110 to 125. And it's supposedly written in AD 90. I think John was written earlier than Matthew or Luke myself, because it has certain things in there that are not acceptable to later Christian views. I can go into that at a different time. But with Mark, which is unanimously considered the earliest gospel, the first manuscript that we have of Mark is from AD 300, from around the time of the Council of Nicaea, around the time of Constantine became emperor in 303, or at least the Caesar of the West in 303, and then called the Council of Nicaea in 325. It's strange that every manuscript from the New Testament, the latest is Mark, the earliest is John, which seems screwy. Now, I say 5,600, but it's nearing now over 6,000 manuscripts. And the wealth that came out of the sands of Egypt and the Sinai is invaluable. So, I'll make a part 2 to this, because the New Testament is very perplexing.